Congressman and panel guest. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'd like to talk about a scam that is really big and is affecting a lot of us in your district, and that's what you and your Republican colleagues did when you passed that so-called big, beautiful bill and slashed Medicaid by 75%. And in your last newsletter, you stated there was no cuts to Medicaid. Need I remind you, Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security are earned benefits, and you have no right to take our earned benefits, especially when you are getting a lifetime pension and platinum health plan. My question is, can you explain?
I'm sorry, sir, but I think I got the gist of your question. I would have to just correct the record. I've made it abundantly clear that I will fight to protect Social Security and Medicare in every way that I can. I've partnered with the AARP on those issues. And as far as Medicaid is concerned, you're actually going to see Medicaid spending is going to increase going forward this decade after the passage of the bill. I do think it's important that we make sure that the system isn't being abused. So, for example, you have millions of cases of people who are enrolled twice in different states, things like that. So the bill does address those sort of issues. It also imposes some pretty modest work requirements for able-bodied young adults without dependents, saying that if they're going to receive free health care paid for by other taxpayers, then you at least need to be looking for a job or working or even volunteering 20 hours a week. I think that's pretty reasonable. And so at the end of the day, I think that, we ended up dealing with that issue in the appropriate way. Going next to Pat from Lincoln.
Hi. Yeah, my question is about the FTC and the fraud stuff. I noticed that in the big, beautiful, terrible bill, that they reduced the budget for consumer protection by at least, I don't know, 18 million or something like that. But everybody seems to think that the federal government, in their efforts to eliminate waste and fraud, they're cutting into, they're really cutting into the muscle. Meanwhile, the president is getting a big, beautiful ballroom and refurbishing an extra airplane. To me, that's fraud and abuse. So my question is, when are we going to stand up? When are you going to stand up to the administration and tell them that your constituents, and you see this all over the country in these town halls, anytime you go out there and have a town hall in person, you get ripped and ripped. When are you going to stand up and say, enough is enough? We need to restore some of these jobs in the FTC and in other agencies to make sure that we are not going back to the 50s, that in fact we are meeting the moment here today to meet the needs of consumer against all these things that you're talking about, all this scamming going on, the AI scamming and everything else.
We do have enough callers if you can just wrap up, please.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much.
When are you going to stand up?
Sure, I appreciate your feedback. I agree with you wholeheartedly in the sense that consumer protection is a vitally important function, and the sort of information we're getting for our folks at the FTC today is really important for protecting seniors and other consumers throughout the country. I did want to also add, because you mentioned concerns about the cost of public buildings. When I was in the state legislature, I was very much against what they're doing with our state capitol here. They're spending $1.2 billion on a big renovation of the state capitol, which seemed a little bit excessive to me. So maybe we have some common ground there as well. So with that being said, moving on to Rich, calling from Roseville. How are you doing tonight, Rich?
I'm doing pretty well. I have a question about a thing I've seen advertised a fair amount, that they're trying to sell you something to protect you from scams, And the scam they talk about is someone stealing your deed. And they make it sound like it's so easy to go into the county and change the deed over to them, and now you've lost your house. Is this a real thing? And if so, what could the county or the state or even the federal government do to make that harder?
Yeah, great question. Christian or Shining, do you want to take that one?
Hi, this is Shining from the FTC. Thank you for that question. So that's a very specific fact pattern that we haven't encountered too much of. I would encourage, if you have become a victim of this type of scam or know someone who has, I would strongly encourage you to report it to reportfraud.ftc.gov so that we can aggregate these data points and make sure that we're paying attention to, especially if it's something new and emerging. Also on consumer.gov, there's more information about these sorts of scams in a lot of detail, so that you can educate yourself and your loved ones about how to avoid these types of scams. But to your specific point about what we can do at the federal level, which is what we have jurisdiction over here at the FTC, to stop the scam that such as deeds, that would be something more on the local level.
All right, great. Going to Marie from Penn Valley.
Yes. I've got a couple of questions. One is about Social Security. I appreciate the increase in the deduction. However, I'm wondering, does that increase the longevity of Social Security?
Well, so the tax deduction wouldn't necessarily affect the Social Security Trust Fund itself. This is a form of tax relief that will just be available to seniors. I do also want to note, by the way, that an important bill that we passed last year that I was a co-sponsor of, that a lot of people actually thought we never could get passed, but we got it passed and signed into law, is the Social Security Fairness Act. So if you or you know someone who was a teacher or a police officer or other public servants weren't really getting a fair shake on their Social Security, and we managed to get that passed and signed into law, so now they've already seen a meaningful improvement in their benefits on a monthly basis now. Thank you for that, Marie. Going now to Charles, calling from Roseville. How you doing, Charles?
Oh, thank you, Congressman Carly. Actually, I'm kind of changed my topic a little bit, but recently there have been reports about denying certain service members a full retirement once they're eligible to retire. Since you and the President appear to support these people in the military, even though neither of you have served, we also support those who may be denied retirement benefits based on the fact they are transgendered if they have met all other requirements to retire.
Thanks for the question. I hadn't heard anything about that, but if you want to follow up with us and let me know what you're referring to, I'd be happy to take a look at it. Going now to Donna, calling from Roseville. How you doing, Donna?
Hi there, Congressman Kiley. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
All right.
My concern deals with Medicare's existing coverage of telehealth services due to expire September 30th. Medicare's telehealth service has literally been a lifesaver for me. Video visits enable me to get vital cancer care from Bay Area experts, just not available in the Sacramento region. They also enable me to get cancer care in the Sacramento region that was too difficult to travel to due to the long distance, and I wasn't feeling well. Starting October 1st, I'm supposed to be in a rural area office in order to get telehealth services, which type unknown. That seems a little that seems considerably restrictive and a little ridiculous because I don't live in a rural area, but that's great for the rural area folks. Even after moving to Roseville, a few of my providers are still out of the area, and I need regular video visits with them, but they're too far to travel. I don't want to give up any of my providers. Nobody does. And, kind of like retailers and restaurants, to this day, they're still continuing to offer curbside service, long COVID restrictions were lifted. There's no reason for existing Medicare teleservices to expire at all or become ridiculously restrictive. So, Congressman Kiley, what will you do for my vote?
So, Kent, thank you very much for the question, Donna. I think this is an issue the AARP has been working on. Is that right?
Hi, I apologize. It may be, but it's not something that I personally have been working on. But if you don't mind, I'll jump back to the previous question about deed theft, because that is something that we've been working on. And what we see is people will go through all the public records of different properties, and then they'll figure out how to get enough information about a homeowner and impersonate them, and then they're able sometimes to change the information on the deed so it looks like they own the deed, and then they're able to, in some cases, sell the house. This sort of famously happened, or was attempted with Elvis's house not so long ago. So there is model state legislation to address this issue. At the federal level, it's definitely something that would be interesting to take a look at, but I don't think there's been a specific bill on this. There was, however, a bill that would, called the Home Buyers Privacy Protection Act, and that would prohibit trigger leads on, so when somebody sells their house, that information is sold by credit bureaus, and then that information would be used by people who would pretend to sell them necessary services like warranties and things like that, and those leads will no longer be allowed. And that's a bill that just passed both houses.
All right. Well, yeah, that's great information. Thank you. And it looks like maybe that's an issue we can follow up on to see if there's something we can propose along those lines. And Donna, I did want to address your question, and I'm very sorry for it. It sounds like an incredibly frustrating experience you've been through, and I'm generally supportive of what you're saying. I think that telehealth makes sense in a lot of different contexts, and can be convenient for patients and lower costs. So I think we do need to explore expanding those options going forward. Let's go now to Aura, who is calling from Lincoln.
Hi, Kevin. My question is about unsolicited sales calls and robocalls. Supposing robocalls are illegal, but these calls, most of us, I think everybody who's listening gets probably 10, 15 a day, landline and cell phone. And when I challenged some of the callers, they said that because I gave my phone number for some business I was doing, I was working with, that opens me up for these calls. I've consented. Now, it's very annoying, and I was wondering if there's any way to get more teeth in the laws to prevent this. You don't know if the call is important. Is it from your doctor or a family member, or from, or is it scammer? So, I'd like to have your feedback on that.
Yeah, that's a great question for our folks with the FCC. If you guys want to take that.
Yeah, this is Shining from the FTC again. Thank you for that call. Thank you for that question. I would first say I would encourage you not to answer any phone call or text from any numbers that you don't recognize. And I realize that you said you might have doctors or other non-registered phone numbers, non-recorded phone numbers, and you want to answer them. But I assure you, there are new scams where people record your voice and spoof your voice using technology. So it's best to just not answer calls or texts that come from numbers you don't recognize.
I'll give you my non-expert opinion on this, which is I have my phone set to just silence unknown calls, and that way you don't even get bothered when the call comes in, and you can go to your voicemail every now and then and flip through it to make sure you didn't miss anything important. But I think that's spared me a lot of hassle from having to deal with these scam calls coming in or spam coming in all the time. All right, going now to Kirsten, who's calling from Folsom. How are you doing today, Kirsten?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for asking, Congressman. I wanted to ask you, Congressman Kiley, you've introduced legislation that would invalidate redistricting maps drawn before the next census in 2030. And in your interviews with the media and on social media, you only call out Governor Newsom's attempt to redistrict in California, but fail to call out Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The ballot initiative offered by Governor Newsom, if the state legislature approves it, states that California's districts would be redrawn only if Texas gerrymanders its districts in time for the 2026 midterm elections. So my question to you, Congressman, will you publicly oppose President Trump's pressure on the Texas governor to redistrict their map?
Thanks for the question. So I've actually introduced legislation that would apply to all 50 states equally and would say that we shouldn't be doing this chaotic exercise of redrawing district lines in the middle of the decade. I am obviously most concerned about California because that's our own state. And I think it's very troubling that we have this attempt to try to gerrymander districts by overturning the will of voters who put in place an independent citizens commission to draw district lines without partisan influence and without having politicians involved in the process. I think it would be a mistake to go back to the old system of partisan gerrymandering in California. And in fact, the voters seem to be on the same page. Today there was a new survey that came out from Politico showing that by a 2-to-1 margin, California voters believe we should maintain our system of nonpartisan independent redistricting, and that view is supported overwhelmingly by Republicans, Democrats, and independents. So that's why I propose this legislation. It would make sure we don't go down this road in California, and it would indeed apply to all the other states in the country as well. Now going to Patricia, calling from Roseville.
Hello?
Hi, Patricia. How you doing? Yes, I can hear you.
So my issue is somebody is using my address. It's all over in my computer. If I look up different things, it's my address, and I'm getting mail for this particular LLC. And I called the Secretary of State, our Secretary of State, and said, what can I do about this? Because this is my address, not somebody out there's address, and I'm getting all this mail. They apparently, our Secretary of State, they don't have anybody come down and apply for their licensing or however they do it to get the LLC. They do everything by phone and computer. And I think this is scam in itself. How do you identify somebody if you can't see them, if they can't actually show you pictures and everything? I also went to the Roseville Police Department because I have the name of the person and the name of the LLC, but they say they can't do anything. This doesn't make sense to me. Somebody is fraudulently using all my address for all these different things, and it's okay.
That's very concerning. Do you guys, Shining or Christian, do you have you experienced this before?
This is Shining from the FTC. I have heard of this happening to individuals before, and I'm so sorry. I know this isn't the answer you're looking for, but you might need to consult an attorney to help you with the specific issue in your case. I don't have any good guidance for you because this sounds like something very particular for your situation.
Yeah, and if you want to follow up with us, stay on the line or just call up my district office. Maybe we can see what help we can provide, putting you in touch with someone who can be of assistance. We have about a little over 10 minutes left, so if you do want to get in the queue to ask a question, you can go ahead and press star 3, and going next to Sherry in Forest Hill. How you doing, Sherry?
Listen, I have my identity has been stolen and put on the dark web. And I was wondering, from everyone I've talked to, they say you can't remove that information. Is there any way or anybody working on a way to remove that information from the dark web, or even, just wipe it out?
What do we think? Any of our experts who have a thought on that one?
I would say, this is Clark from AARP, I would say anyone who tells you they can get your information off of the dark net is not telling you the truth. but there are ways that you can protect yourself if your information is there. Things like freezing your credit and putting credit watches on to prevent people from taking out credit, like taking out a mortgage or a credit card in your name. There's a website that is identitytheft.gov, which will walk you through how to do things like that.
Identitytheft.gov.
And this is Kristen Glover from the FTC. I'd also like to add that you can also go to consumer.gov/identity theft, and there are lots of resources on how to deal with that kind of situation.
Perfect. And we will include those links as well following the town hall, all the links that have been mentioned, so you have them readily available. Going next to Marcia in Rockland.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, and I appreciate all that you're doing for your constituents. And I just wanted to mention the previous caller was mentioning a ballroom that's being constructed as part of the White House, and I'm under the impression that President Trump is paying for that personally. That you understand?
That's what I heard, yes.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask is that if there could be some legislation that would address, and I know someone brought up about the deed theft, when I called the recorder's office, they told me that yes, in fact, someone could come down there and do exactly what people have been reporting has been done in terms of stealing the deed to their homes. I'd like to see some legislation that makes that much more difficult than it is.
Yeah, is that in the same general area that we were discussing before, Kent, or what are your thoughts on that? Sorry, Clark.
Sorry, I'll take the Superman reference anytime.
Good to go.
Yes, it is. And so there is, as I mentioned, there is state model legislation that aims to put more protections in place. And I apologize, I don't know off the top of my head if California has been pursuing that or not. AARP does have some more information about that on our website. If you search AARP title theft or deed theft, you'll find some of our articles on that. But it's certainly something that could be looked at the federal level, and we're happy to work with anyone on crafting that and making sure that there are appropriate protections in place.
Great, and that gives us another, I think, really good thing to follow up on, which is, again, why these sessions are so valuable for me, because we get a lot of really good ideas from you and get to hear about kind of what the issues you're facing out there are. So that's another good bit of feedback. All right, now going to Faith from Quincy.
Yes.
Hey, Faith,
I have a couple of questions about your involvement in the assembly and some other things having to do with health. While you were in the California Assembly, you voted against a woman's right to privacy twice, a woman's protection from retaliation or discrimination for her reproductive choices twice, reproductive choice and access to reproductive care. As a congressional representative, you voted to prohibit ACF, Administration for Children and Families, from interfering with state decisions on how to use this federal funding for TANF, Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, with respect to certain pregnancy centers. My question to you is, do you feel this is discrimination against women? And if not, why?
Faith, I appreciate you calling in. You gave a long list of items there, and I honestly don't know what most of them are even referring to. So if you'd like to follow up with us and kind of let me know the specific bills you're talking about, then I'd be able to give you an informed response. Going now to Mary from Auburn.
Hello, Congressman.
Hello, How Congressman.
I'm well, thank you. I just had a question. Since we were talking about identity theft and scams and such, is the federal government trying to do anything about countering these scams? And then internet crime hackers. Hackers seem to be getting into everybody's things. Banks, the Pentagon, private people. It's terrible, and that's probably what they're trying to do with us seniors. So I'd just like to know what the feds are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have addressed these issues in some hearings we've done on the Judiciary Committee, which I'm a part of. But maybe I'll, since the FTC is really charged with enforcing these consumer protections, maybe you guys could weigh in on what's been passed recently and what other changes might be forthcoming.
Thanks, Congressman. This is Shining from the FTC. So some of what you described would be criminal activity. Hackers are considered criminals. And so the FTC prosecutes on under civil statutes, and then we work closely with our criminal law enforcement partners at the state and federal level to make sure that if we identify criminal activity, that the criminal law enforcement partners know about it and that they can prosecute it as well. But the best thing to do, I know I sound like a broken record, is to report it. And because only when you report it can we find out the bad conduct and to find out who we should be prosecuting.
Great. And Clark, did you want to add anything on that?
Sure, thank you. I think that there's a lot of work that many government agencies, FTC, key among them, but there's a lot of different agencies that are doing very good work in this space, including improving cybersecurity standards to ensure businesses know what standards they should be meeting to ensure that hackers can't access data. And I think it's something that is, as you pointed out, very important because when data is exfiltrated from these sites, it can be used to target people. So it's very important that businesses take that seriously and listen to the government advice about best standards and best practices.
All right, great. Thank you. Now going to Vicki in Roseville.
Thank you. I have a couple questions for you. So what I'm hearing, I want to confirm that currently we have a $24,000 standard deduction, so seniors will have an extra $6,000 on top of that, which will be $30,000, correct?
Correct. The $6,000 will be available, correct, to filers 65 and over.
And what age? What's the minimum age requirement on that?
65.
65. Thank you. And then, are they still talking about not taxing Social Security?
Well, so this was designed to sort of offset some of the taxes that you pay on Social Security. It is the idea. So that's why it's specifically available to seniors, is to try to lessen that tax burden.
So the ones that are taking their Social Security early, they're going to still be taxed on that?
I believe the deduction is simply based upon age.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks very much for calling. All right. We have, let's see, Gail calling from Lewis.
Thank you, Congressman Kiley, for all the things you do. My question is very similar to your previous caller. My understanding of the big, beautiful bill is that it was going to eliminate the tax on Social Security. And my question was, when does that become effective?
So the bonus standard deduction we've been talking about is effective immediately on passage of when the bill takes effect. So you'll be able to claim that the next time you do your taxes, and that will go a long way towards offsetting the taxes you pay on Social Security. Again, this is a brand new thing, has never been there before. It's an extra bonus $6,000 deduction that you can claim whether you itemize your deductions or take the general standard deduction. Going now to Donald, calling from Folsom.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
The first one was about the $6,000 credit. Is that for a family, per family, or is that per Social Security recipient as long as you're old enough?
Yeah, so no, joint filers will get will each get the $6,000.
Okay. the other one was I was wondering if there anything going on in California that is trying to stop the Democrats from taking control of drawing the maps, even though all of us voted to appoint the commission, because I know the maps they're going to give us to vote on are only going to benefit them. We're not going to be able to vote on whether or not to keep the maps we already have. They're going to give us maps they want us to vote for, and either way, they'll get what they want.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't really look at this through a partisan lens. I look at it through the lens of what is the right thing for democracy, what respects the will of voters, what constitutes good government. And, I think that overwhelmingly people in our state have made it very clear that they don't think partisan gerrymandering and putting the ability to draw the lines for congressional districts in the hands of politicians is a good thing. That's where you get these crazy shapes on the map, or maybe your neighbor has a different representative than you do. So we have a system in California that the voters put in place that says we're going to have this done on a nonpartisan basis by citizens who are not not politicians themselves. I think that we should keep that system, and I think that's what the voters of California will say if given the opportunity. And I've also introduced legislation in Congress to make sure that we don't have this kind of chaos break out across the country where we have one state after another that's constantly redrawing their district lines. I don't think that's a good thing for the country. I'm also calling for the creation of a bipartisan redistricting reform commission to make it so that by the next time we draw lines after the 2030 census, which we're supposed to do it, hopefully we can end political gerrymandering in every state across the country. All right, I see that we are at time. Maybe we can do one more caller. I do want to be respectful to our the time of our guests here, but we'll have our final caller of the night be Rise calling from Lincoln.
Yes, hi. My name is Risa, and thank you very much for taking my call. I'm concerned about Proposition 13, and this allows older people to stay in their homes, and I understand that people are trying to chip away at that.
Yeah, good question, and you're right. There have been various efforts to chip away at Prop 13. I'm very much opposed to anything that would weaken the protections of Prop 13. It's a vital protection for all California taxpayers, particularly seniors, and I will continue to fight to preserve those protections in every way that I can. So thank you very much for the question. There's a few people we didn't get to. I very much apologize for that, but if you want to hang on the line, then we can get your information and follow up with you then. But thank you, everyone, very much for joining this evening, for taking a little time to be part of this town hall. As I said at the outset, this is really the most important thing that I have the opportunity to do as your representative. And so thank you for all the feedback that enables me to do a better job representing you in Washington, D.C. Hope you have a great evening, and look forward to talking with you again soon.